Let me ask this. You have back pain right now, right?
I do.
Why? And you're a healer.
I do.
Why don't you heal yourself?
Well, that's an excellent question. And I will, like a Jew, I will answer your question with a question. How many thoracic surgeons do you know who perform their own bypass?
But I don't know, but why don't you heal? You can't heal yourself, but you can heal others?
Jesse Lee Peterson debates this liberal Jewish homosexual spiritual healing monk over Black Lives Matter in this outrageous clip, as Jesse Lee Peterson is stunned by this guy's insane rambling as they talk about racism and calls this lunatic out for refusing to answer anything and for his own bullshit. Let's get in.
Let me ask, Black Lives Matter, you heard of them?
I have heard of them.
And would you agree with me that they're an evil, radical, agitative?
Not at all.
Do you see them as a good group?
Well, I'm not an expert, but I would say this. Statistics have shown that there is systemic racism in our country. And the likelihood in a given scenario, whether it's being pulled over by a cop or whatever the scenario is, statistically, Black Americans or African Americans are in greater danger of receiving violence from the police than their white counterpart.
Not true.
Being a Jew, when I see the historian's account in newsreels and in lectures of the atrocities that were committed against my people in Germany and in Austria, I'm horrified. When I read about what happened to my people in Russia and in Spain and in Portugal and in Rome during the Inquisitions, it was horrible. And when I see what happens to Black Americans at the hands of the police with very little, if any, accountability, it's horrific.
But you see it an illusion. I want to ask you this.
A rabbi once said,
let me say this.
Never again is not just for the Jews, it's for all beings.
Well, let me say this to you. Black Lives Matter is lying to you. Blacks are suffering due to the destruction of the family and the lack of moral character. It has nothing to do with racism. Racism doesn't even exist. That's a made-up word. It's a lie. It's made up to control black people by keeping them angry at the white man, and then to intimidate white people in order to get power and wealth. There's no such thing as racism. Blacks are suffering due to the lack of moral character.
How are you going to prove there's no such thing as racism? How are you going to prove that negative?
It's because if you look at it's easy to prove that there's
by the way, I'm having trouble supporting my back right now because of the injury, so I'm going like this right now. Not because I'm trying to be aggressive, but because I'm trying not to fall over.
So this is what I want to ask. Since you believe this lie, is it possible that everything else you believe is wrong?
As a white-ish, because a lot of people don't consider Jews white, but as a white-ish guy, I've seen cops treat me than other folk differently.
Because you followed the orders of the cop. You didn't give them a rough time. You were not a criminal. You didn't have a record, right?
No record.
You had your driver's license and car insurance, right?
But the thing is, from my own experience...
So is it possible that all these other things that you believe, could that be a lie? Because you truly believed into a lie about racism and white cop with black.
Right, so that's a great
question. Is it possible
question.
That everything else you could believe it,
Jesse, this is the fourth time you've asked me that question. I'd love to answer it.
Let me hear you answer real fast.
The answer is, there's a vast difference between a possibility and a probability. And intellectual integrity requires that we keep an open mind to every possibility. And in fact, in the hard sciences, we were told that ceramic was an insulator. And then in the 80s we learned that not only is it a conductor, it's a superconductor.
So you're gonna find out one day you're wrong about a whole bunch of other things.
Folks, let me know what you think in the comments, but is this guy making any sense at all? Like this is the result, I think, of someone who does too much LSD or mushrooms or whatever drug, whatever thing this guy is on, he is taking way too much. I mean, like Jesse Lee Peterson, I don't think can like really figure this guy out. You don't find people like this on the right. Like they don't exist. Like these quasi burnt out lunatics, you always see them on the left. You always see them as a liberal, as a woke. This is always something regarded to Democrats and the left. I don't know why. I don't know what's actually pushed them off the deep end. Is there just a result of liberalism as a whole? But this guy's brain is so gone that he actually draws parallels between the history of the Jews and Black Lives Matter, an organization that defrauded everybody and caused $2 billion worth of damages, making it the largest man-made civil disaster in American history. But hit that like button if you're enjoying the video. It helps the algorithm. I appreciate it. And let's get back in.
Why did you leave? Did you desert being a Jew or Judaism? Did you like desert that?
Well,
Yes.
it depends who you ask.
No, I'm asking you. Did you?
Great, so here's how I would answer that. Of the non-Asian meditation teachers, 2 of them around on the earth right now, the most prolific are Jews. So if you ask, what makes a man a Jew? Does wearing a yarmulke and a tefillin make someone a Jew, or is a Jew a racial thing? Because I have a big nose and an affinity for bagels, or or what makes a man a Jew? Is being a child of Abraham, me being vulnerable to the Holy Spirit?
What made you a Jew when you were a Jew?
Being vulnerable to, whether you call it Dharmakaya or Holy Spirit or Tao, being vulnerable to that. In fact, if I remember correctly, in the New Testament, we are told that the church is the bride of Christ. And we must be vulnerable to the urgings of the Holy Spirit.
And who is God?
That doesn't really enter into my metaphysics.
Really? And do you believe in Jesus Christ? Well, I know you don't
Does
believe.
not enter into my metaphysics.
Oh, okay.
So
How about good and evil? Is there good and evil?
Where humility embraces vulnerability, hubris embraces defensiveness. And one of the ways we fix the blame outside ourselves is by blaming it on an etheric entity, or a celestial being, or a fallen celestial being.
So you don't believe there's good and evil?
It isn't that I believe in it or believe in it, it's just that I've got my hands full working on me. And I can see we live in an interdependent universe and there are outside influences. Everything affects everything, but
because you're not answering my question, I don't understand what you're saying.
you're a smart guy. I think you need to give yourself the benefit of the doubt.
Let me ask this. You have back pain right now, right?
I do.
Why, and you're a healer.
I do.
Why don't you heal yourself?
Well, that's an excellent question. And I will, like a Jew, I will answer your question with a question. How many thoracic surgeons do you know who perform their own bypass?
But I don't know, but why don't you heal? You can't heal yourself, but you can heal others?
Sometimes.
But not yourself.
Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't.
Oh, I see, but not other back pain.
A wise man can recognize his limitations without being threatened by them.
Did you have fun?
It's been very invigorating.
You want some Tylenol?
Folks, I don't know if it's wokeness. I don't know if it's drugs. Either way, this guy seems woke because he literally is just living in his own delusion. Like, this guy is so far out there that he's not even touching reality. He literally is floating off the ground in his own world. Like, I don't know where they find people like this. I don't even know how this guy even came to be, but you really got to be on some other stuff to end up like this. And I'm sure Jesse Lee Peterson is just looking at this guy like, oh my God. By the way, have some Tylenol. But thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought about what Jesse Lee Peterson had to say interviewing this insane liberal lunatic. Thanks again, like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.